Okay, guys. Sorry if I'm talking kind of quiet. My son's still sleeping. It's really early. I found a couple of shards of glass in my yard yesterday, and a couple of days before that, I found a shard of glass in the same spot. And earlier in the week when I found the first shard of glass, I knew that it wasn't there before because I planted a lawn last spring in my yard. And I know every square inch of that yard. I raked every single square inch of that yard. I know what's in my yard. And not only that, it was close to the door, and I go out there in my yard when my son is out there. I look around because, I've found other things like cigarette butts a few times. I never told you guys because I was like, okay, maybe cigarette butts technically could like fly in the wind and that could be an accident. But glass, no, I have a fenced yard. There's no way that glass can just appear there by accident. Somebody put it there. Nothing has ever been broken inside or outside my house. Never. Earlier in the week, I found the first shard of glass, and like I said, I knew that it wasn't there before, and I knew that it wasn't an accident that it was there, but I didn't tell you guys. I didn't say anything because I was like, it was just one time. But then, like a few days later, I found 2 more shards of glass in the same exact spot. Now, you want to tell me that's an accident? It's not. And not only that, the first day the shard of glass was like half a square inch. And then, like yesterday, it was 2 shards of glass. And they were both they were larger, like a square inch in size. I mean, I'm not exactly sure the size, but they were larger pieces. And it's clear glass. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that just 2 weeks ago I was on here telling you guys that that in the last apartment that I lived, which was in another state, that they were putting shards of glass inside my house. And that happened on 3 separate occasions. They put the shards of glass in the same spot every time. I would find it in the same spot. And now, and I was just telling you guys that like 2 weeks ago or something, and I was saying, I was talking about how I was finding these little hooks inside my house, and I know I told you I was trained professionally how to clean, so when I vacuum thoroughly, and I do not miss any spots anywhere on my floor. And I said that, I was telling you guys how I kept finding these little hooks, and they were all broken off in the same spot, but they were different colors. And, that happened on like 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure it happened 3 times, because I remember there was a black one, a purple one, and a pink one. And, they're not mine. They weren't there before. And I was saying, yeah, well, in this house, they leave these little hooks and they leave cigarette butts. Like I found 1 cigarette butt in the house that I know wasn't there before. And then I found, a couple of cigarette butts in the yard that I know weren't there before. But I didn't tell you guys about that either because, like I said, I was like, okay, not going to talk about the yard because it could have blown in there. But now I know with the shards of glass that did not happen by accident. Somebody did that on purpose. But anyway, I was telling you guys about that 2 weeks ago, about how they used to put shards of glass inside my house when I was living in the other apartment in the other state. And I was just saying that 2 weeks ago. I was like, they used to put shards of glass, but they don't do that here. Well, yeah, they do, apparently. And I don't think it's a coincidence that I was just telling you guys that. I think they watched this video and they were like, oh, shards of glass, that's a good idea. Let's go put that in her yard where her baby plays. And I was just, thinking about who does this kind of thing. Like, what kind of person does it take to do that? And I was thinking, well, maybe my first thought was that maybe it would be like a teenager or something that they would tell lies to, because that's what they do. I mean, I've kind of figured that out over the past 20 years, that what they do is every time I move to a new town, they spread lies about me to certain people that, maybe they think will attack me. That's what it seems like, what they're doing, and talking to other TIs and stuff. And also my own experience when they tried to get me to participate in gang stalking when I was young, when I was like 20 years old. They tried to get me to participate in it. So, I mean, from my experience, that's what I think they're doing. Except the problem is, if it was a teenager or something, why wouldn't they just why wouldn't they just smash a bottle into my yard if they hated me that much? Why wouldn't they just throw a bottle in my yard or something? So I don't think that's what it is, because what these people are doing is they're putting it in the same spot, but they're making it very subtle. They don't want it to be obvious. And I believe they're doing that on purpose, because who the fuck excuse the language, but who the hell goes around carrying like a little shard of glass to put into somebody's yard? And I'm telling you, it wasn't there before. Somebody put it there, and it couldn't blow in there by the wind, and it couldn't be pushed in there by scuffling feet or anything like that. I have a fence around my yard, and there's no way somebody put it there on purpose, you guys. And I just don't think it was a young teenager retard. I don't. I think it was somebody that did it on purpose. That either they were coached and told how to persecute somebody, or they're getting paid. I don't know. But somebody's doing it on purpose, and they're doing it in such a way that they don't want it to be obvious what they're doing. And what kind of person would do that? Maybe somebody who does not know that there's a baby who plays in the yard, but the people who are instigating that person to do it, they know that I have a child, because they know who I am. They're targeting me. Somehow they know when I move. Every time I move, it happens everywhere I go. And I've never told you guys how they're doing it, because I don't know how they're doing it. Every single time I move, I'll have maybe like a couple of days. In the beginning, it was like a couple of weeks or something before something would happen. But recently, in recent years, it's only a couple of days, and then stuff starts happening. Like with the gang stalking, it still takes about a week before anything will happen. Like when I moved here, I remember I kept track of it, because it's been happening for so long that I learned to like try to keep track of pay attention to like how long it takes them to start persecuting me once I move to a new state. And I mean, I don't have my notes in front of me right now, so I don't know for sure, but I remember that it took them about 2 or 3 days before the electromagnetic attack started, and it took about a week before the gang stalking started. And I remember the first gang stalking incident when I first got here. It was that lady, it was a lady at the store who was mimicking my mother, and trying to talk to me, and I can't remember what it was she was saying, but it was something that we had been talking about earlier or something like that. I can't really remember right now, but there was no question at all that this woman was a gang stalker. Now, she was like the first one, and I remember it took about a week before anything happened. About a week, if I'm remembering correctly. And with the electromagnetic attacks, I purposely left the thermal blankets off of me so that I could gauge how many days it took them to start attacking me in the new place that I was staying. And it took, like I said, it took about 3 days. It didn't happen on the first day, and I don't think it happened on the second day, but it did happen on the third day. I personally cannot understand how someone could do that to a child, endanger a child like that. And I think, well, they're probably just trying to make, they probably know that I'm going to get on here and tell you, and so maybe they're doing it because they want to make it look like I'm a bad parent. But I don't care if somebody's that retarded that they're going to blame me because somebody's putting shards of glass in my yard, then they're suffering from severe brain deficiency, and I'm not going to alter what I say to you guys just because there's some severely retarded people out there in authoritative positions. And I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done anything to hurt anybody ever. Like I said, it's only when I was a child, I can count on one hand how many things I did that were like less than, benevolent or whatever. But like I said, I just have never ever hurt anyone in any way whatsoever. I've always been a super nice, and I used to be really friendly, and just never would do anything to hurt anyone ever or anything. I've never done anything to anyone. And what I think is happening is that I think these people want me to do something to hurt someone. And I think that that's part of what the gang stalking is that they want to cause you so much stress and so much trauma that you start acting out. That's what I think that they want. I think that they want people to act out. They want you to respond to them. So don't, and I've said this before, don't ever respond to them. Do not ever, ever respond to them. That's exactly what they want. Because if you do anything, anything at all, you cannot respond to them. Because if you do, then they're going to escalate. They'll escalate the situation. They'll try to escalate it as much as they can. So never respond to them. Even though I know how hard I know that it's hard not to for some people. But just don't ever respond to them, because more and more I understand, like, if you start reading the Bible, you'll see that whoever left us the Bible, they knew the future. Whoever it was. If it was angels or, space travelers or what, I don't know. But whoever it was that left us the Bible, they knew our future. And the stories are cryptic. The real stories, like about what's happening to people right now in the last days, those stories are written in a cryptic way so that only people that the stories that you read that seem to be just straightforward. I don't think those are the real stories. I think those stories were altered by the Romans when they hijacked Christianity a couple thousand years ago. They changed the stories. They changed like the mythology. They altered it. But the truth, there is truth in the Bible, and the truth is not in the, I mean, I'm not going to say where the truth is and where it's not, but I think a lot of people don't realize that there is truth in the Bible. There is, I mean, and there's amazing truth in it. Like things that the people that wrote it knew our future. They knew what was going to happen in our world. Things that just happened. Like you can watch that video I made a couple days ago. Things that just happened a couple weeks ago they knew about. I mean, they gave us the exact number of days from the time Obama took his oath until they placed the steel beam in the New World Trade Center. I mean, that's not a coincidence. And anyone who thinks that's a coincidence is brain damaged. That I just, it's sickening. I mean, what's happened to our world is just, there's all these people going around that are on multiple medications, and you know, they're whatever, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're popping pills, and their brains are just not functioning properly. And it's scary. It's just, I just can't understand. I mean, I go to people in my family, I've gone to friends, and they don't understand what I'm talking about. They think that I'm imagining this stuff. They think that, and even when I've told them that I've had, you know, friends and acquaintances and family members, I've had like 8 people that I can think of in my life that have died. 2 of them are unsolved murders. I mean, and it's just, I mean, I can understand that, you know, that would scare someone. That I understand. I understand if you're afraid of what I'm saying, but I don't understand when people, my point is that it's not happening to them. That's what my point is. Because if this was something that was just happening to everybody, then they would understand what I was saying to them. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's happening to me too. But it's not. It's not happening to everybody. And I've never done anything to anybody. And I look at some of these other people that I've talked to, and they don't understand what I'm talking about. It's not happening to them. And they are not better people than I am. And I can tell you right now that they've done really, some of them that I've gone to, you know, and I'm not like judging them, but I mean, some of them have done, you know, some pretty mean things to other people, or, you know, like maybe not really mean things, but just like, they're not like really, really nice people. They're not nicer than I am. I was much kinder than them, you know, I am much kinder than they are in spirit. So, I mean, this is not happening to me because of something I did. It's not happening to the bad people of the world. I want you to think that. The Gangstalkers want you to think that. Every day, well, not every day, I keep seeing these videos of supposed TIs, and they always say that, you know, a lot of the TIs think that they're being targeted because of, you know, whatever. Everybody has a different theory about why they're being targeted. But the only thing that I've ever heard that made any sense to me was the government thing. Whether, like, if you're in a government family, or you're in the military, or you have some connection to the military or some connection to the government, whether it be through like a family member or yourself. I mean, that's the only thing that I've ever thought really is what this is about. But, you know, you have people saying all kinds of things. Oh, they think it's because you're on you're on welfare, that's why they're doing it. Or, oh, you're getting disability. No, that's not why they're doing it. They started doing this to me 15, 20 years ago. I'm not really sure. I noticed it 15 years ago, but I look back 20 years ago, and I think there was stuff going on then too. There's weird stuff going on all the way back to my childhood, okay? But when the gang stalking, I mean, when I first started really noticing it, I was successful. I had a successful career. I worked. I was not on any kind of government assistance. I was not doing anything to hurt anyone. I wasn't doing anything illegal. I wasn't drinking, smoking. And I mean, well, granted, I was in my early 20s, so I was a normal person in their early 20s. I wasn't like some goody-goody or something. I was just a normal kid in my early 20s when this stuff started. And, you know, I wasn't using, I'm not going to say I wasn't smoking or drinking, because the truth was I did smoke back then. I smoked cigarettes for like 5 years in my early 20s. And I mean, I did in my early 20s occasionally go out, you know. But I, for the most part, was a working musical theater performer. And many of you know I was working for Disney when this stuff started. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying this has anything to do with Disney. My point is that a lot of people just want to assume that you must have been doing some kind of bad, you know, thing in your life. And I'm trying to tell you my point in saying that I was working at Disney when this all started. My point that a lot of people seem to miss is that I was, number one, I was working, and number two, I wasn't working at any bad place. I was working at the happiest place on earth. You know what I mean? So this doesn't have anything to do with how my job, or, or getting government assistance, or, doing something mean to somebody. That's not what any of this is about. It's not about any of that. And they're doing really dangerous things. They're putting my child in danger. I mean, I feel like, I've told you guys about the stuff they do. Every time I would take my son to the park, they're doing something like smoking pot behind me, coming over and letting their dog run all over me, and like get up in my son's face, on a leash, by the way. That time that happened, that dog was on a leash. It wasn't like, I mean, these people are doing things that could hurt me or my child. And, I mean, they're coming, and I've told you, I find needle marks. I found strange marks on my son's body. I felt like I had been assaulted one time when earlier this summer, when I slept without the thermal blankets. I woke up feeling like I had been assaulted, and I was in pain. But normally when they're attacking me with the, I guess they're electromagnetic weapons or whatever, Normally when I'm being attacked with that, I wake up. I'll wake up right away. But that night that I was assaulted, I didn't wake up. I didn't wake up that night. I just woke up the next morning in pain. And I had slept that night without the thermal blankets. So, I mean, maybe that's what it was. But then I found a mark on my son's body that same morning when I woke up. And then, the laptop tampering, somehow they were unscrewing the interior frame of my laptop screen in the middle of the night. I don't want to take up all your guys' time. I'm just... whoever these people are, I don't think they're human. They're not like any normal human. They don't have normal human compassion. I mean, you would think that they would at least have compassion for a child and not put glass inside. I mean, how the hell they're getting glass into my apartment? I don't know. I don't know how they get this stuff in the apartment. I don't know if they're moving it. I question whether they are moving things around, but then how, like for example, maybe it was underneath something and they moved it out using some type of device, electromagnetic device, maybe. I don't know. It's just maybe a thought. Maybe that's what they were doing, because in that one apartment, there was a bunch of glass. It turned out there was a bunch of glass under the refrigerator, because the refrigerator died while I was there, and the apartment manager had to come in and pull the fridge out, and they found a pile of glass under the fridge, like way deep under the fridge. There was no way it accidentally came out. I mean, if they're moving stuff, I mean, are they moving stuff out? And I mean, I did find the glass near, not right by the fridge, but kind of near there. But I know that, it wasn't me sweeping it, and it wasn't my son reaching under there, because where they found it, it was way, way, way in the back. And my son was really young, and he couldn't have reached that far under the fridge, and he didn't do that. He didn't. And even if he had, he wouldn't have been able to reach that far, okay? And it was happening when we weren't at home. Like, I would leave and go to the store, and then I'd come home and it was there. It wasn't happening while I was at home. It was happening while I was away from home. And that's the same thing with all of it. All of it. I find this stuff when I come home. I leave and then I come home and it's there. It doesn't happen when I'm at home. It happens, I mean, there was one time that it happened while I was at home, and that was with the pot. I had a pan in my kitchen that had been unscrewed. Like the handle of the pan had been completely unscrewed, which just does not happen by accident. And that did happen while I was at home. It happened overnight. But it's like it either happens overnight or it happens while I'm gone. And nobody's in my house. Nobody has keys to my house. There's nobody in my life. I'm not, I don't date. Oh my God, I don't date. No way. I don't want somebody around my child. Some stranger around my child? Hell no. I know I'm talking for like 30 minutes, and I probably should just let you go, but I just wanted to tell you guys that I mostly make these videos for other TIs, or just other people that are going through persecution. I make these videos for them. I don't make it just for, I'm not just getting on here to complain. I'm getting on here to share information with people that are doing research into this subject, and also for mostly just for other people that are being persecuted. just to let you know that you're not alone. I mean, there's other people going through this. Because if you don't talk about what's happening to you, it isolates everyone else, because everyone else that's going through this stuff, they think they're the only one going through it. I mean, I know that not everybody's going through it. Like I said, anytime I talk to somebody about it, like a friend or family member, they think I'm crazy. They don't understand what I'm talking about. And they blame me. They think that it's crazy. They're mentally deranged. They cannot think logically. Like, they don't understand, they don't understand. They're like, oh, you're just deluding no, why would I make up stories like this? Why would I waste my own time? I'm a really, really busy, overwhelmed person. Why would I waste my time making up stories? I mean, do you think I'm lying? Are you calling me a liar? Because I'm not. Everything I've said is true. I mean, they blame you. They blame you just because they can't handle it. It's so weird. And if it was happening to them, then it'd be a different story. Then they'd be the one that everybody was saying it was their fault, or that they did something to deserve it, or that they were imagining it, or just whatever, suffering from a mental illness. It's always my fault somehow. I mean, what does it take for these people to wake up? And that's what scares me too, because I think, well, what does it take for them to wake up? My murder? Is that the only thing that's going to make them wake up? I mean, I hope that's not God's plan. But the people in this world, there's just so many stupid, utterly retarded people out there that they're not retarded because of an accident that's not their fault. They're retarded because of retarded's not even the right word. They're ignorant. It's ignorance. Because it's not that they're like that because God, didn't bless them with intelligence. That's not it. These people are willfully relinquishing their own ability to use their brain. It's disgusting. It's utterly filth. It is filth. It is the most disgusting filth that I just have ever experienced. Just the utter ignorance of people, and how they're gluttonous, and how they just want to be gluttonous, and they just want to eat their food, and they just want to they just want to watch their TV, and they just want to drink their alcohol, and they don't want to know about anything that's going on. They're disgusting, utterly filth, nasty pieces of shit. Because I didn't live like that. I had a friend who was, there was actually a girl that was being stalked. My best friend, before I found out that I was being stalked, I first noticed it in 95, 96. But like in 1993, my best friend, was describing this kind of stuff, the stuff I'm going through now. Similar stuff she was describing to me. And some of the stuff she went through was, I'm not going to tell you, because it seems like when I tell you guys something, I don't know. But some of the stuff she went through was pretty bad. And I tried to help her. I didn't just ignore her and walk away. No, I tried to help her. I didn't blame her. I didn't say she was crazy. So, I mean, people out there who think, oh, the targeted people are they're either weak, or they're criminals, or they're just bad people. Because any of the TI movies that you watch, like movies that are supposedly about TIs, most of them demonize the TIs. For example, that movie, The Game, I don't know if you've seen that. Oh, it's this guy's a total asshole before he gets gang stalked. I was a super nice person. I was a really nice, caring person. I'd go out of my way to like give food to homeless people. I would like be super nice to just everybody and really friendly. And I was a really, really nice, kind, quiet person who never bothered anybody else, never butted into anybody's business. I didn't bother people. You know, people that hear these stories, they want to make up all this stuff and say, oh, they must have been hanging around with the wrong person, or they must have been. No. I had a career. I had a successful career. I was a nice person. I was a law-abiding citizen. My dad was put in, who knows how many years working for the government. You know, I was all the excuses you want to make up in your mind about why this is happening. You better wake up. This can happen to you. You might be next on their list. Wake up, please. Please. I'll let you go.